This is my PC, a piece of ancient hardware from 2013. Here are the specs. A Pentium G645 processor with 2 cores and 2 threads, and a GeForce GT 430 graphics card. This means this PC can literally only run a browser and play videos below 720p. Try to play browser games? No way. Run heavy software? It's freeze. You go ask your parents. I want a new PC, please. Your parents. Doesn't run a browser? Me, maybe. That's it. If it's run a browser, then all PCs are same. Go back to your studies. Of course, besides that, you all know how crazy hardware prices are. Since 2020, we've been waiting for hope, or as the famous title says, next year real PCs prices will finally drop. Of course, I tried to endure it and stay quiet, but in 2025, they announced the end of Windows 10. The result, I just went back to sleep. I mean, what else could I do? I was always trying to be gentle with this weak PC, enduring all the lag and freezes. But I literally reached my limit and I decided I had to do something. So after many trying, I decided to go back to my old 2020 dream after all retirement and finally download the Unity version 2019 to fit the potato, of course. And we make a ground a platformer player and boom, we have a game. Just kidding, of course. Did you actually believe me? I mean, 90 developers already made a game like that. Of course, because of the loss of productivity, I decided not to get distracted. According to human development, we shouldn't waste time. We must sleep early and collect our thoughts. Forget what I just said. Anyway, I wrote several story drafts and I got ideas. Most of them weren't bad, but they were easier to complex for a AAA studio or just lacked creativity. For example, one of my drafts, a weak platformer hero faces the first boss, become a bit stronger and start his journey to save a ruined world. Literally, the weird thing is I was excited about it. But after using my brain for a bit, I discovered that half of platformers games have the exact same story. Also, one of the things that made this draft fail, which was actually going to be implemented, no lie, is that platformer games are full of physics and calculation, meaning CPU consumption, and that contradict the potato law. And after a journey of exhausting drafts and tired brainstorming, I finally started to discover the game idea, especially since that time. I was a very difficult year. I decided to make a top-down game. Why? Because top-down more relies more on math and coordinates rather than heavy physics. And I choose the survival genre to make you feel lonely because you player are completely alone. In studies, especially during your high school final, you're left alone to suffer. While parents just say, normal, we've all been through this. Then they leave you. And I added horror elements because horror and survival makes a great dynamic mix in the gameplay. It's highly addictive. Also, one of the things I decided to add is the building, but not just any building. Strategic building where you have to use your brain. In short, you are living a harsh land and you must overcome the hardships. Without spoilers, of course. Welcome, and as you can see, we open the engine. Don't focus and activate Windows watermark, please. We place square and call it player. As usual, we create a C# script, name it player controller, and write the movement code. In short, if you are a noob, no offense follower, the movement code relies on the Cartesian coordinate system. But doesn't stress about these things. Leave it to me. I'm the one who will suffer, of course. In short, viewers, we added a dash and attack, and that's this. Of course, the world is empty and the game is boring right now, so we will added an enemy, an evil red circle. The enemy just chases the player. Anyway, the world is still empty, so we will move to next step, the inventory. As indie developers, we all know the terrifying reputation of programming an inventory system and how complex it seems. So the boss is going to break it down for you quickly. We needed an item, especially a scriptable object named item data, and a script to convert item from just data into a physical world object when you drop it in the ground. And we need a script named inventory data that represents the core logic for any storage system, and a player inventory script for the player itself. Not need to mention the UI complexity, which is the real nightmare, along with a temporary hotbar for now. Of course, up until now we can only loot items, but why can't we craft them? And here comes the role of called the crafting system. I mean a super simple thing. Just craft a pickaxe. Back to business. We just need a piece of UI, meaning a crafting panel and a crafting recipe, which will be a scriptable object to set the recipe. And of course, the item data itself. Do you understand this idea simply? If you press for any other key later and the crafting panel pops up, then the recipe disappears. When you select one, it shows you requirement, the item icon, and the craft button. So the recipe scriptable objects must contain detail, the required item, their amounts, and the output product. Yes, finally we have an axe. Finally we are going to play the game and face the drag. Okay, it's too early for that, of course. We have an axe now, but the wood is literally still empty and square, circle. We need to build, you know, how are we going to survive? Now comes what is called the campfire area, or fire camp as I called it. I know it's wrong, don't ask me, okay? Honestly, it's just an imaginary circle intersecting with map cells. Any cell that intersects with the circle's radius or the is inside it. Congratulations, you can build. Any cell outside, out of luck, of course. The center of this circle is the campfire itself. I know, it's just a red circle for now. Don't worry about the next step. The next step is building system. This system might look like just placing squares and building, but I wish it were that easy. The building system is a real nightmare. First, you have create a ghost style. This, my friend, preview where you can place the structure, whether it's 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 1 by 2, even 100 by 100. I just kidding. And you control it using IGKL and the mouse, and later, like the gamepad, is what achieved legendary. You know what? See everything we just did, literally just at the beginning, because now we are moving to building stage. In short, what do we need? A scriptable object for the structure, like the one of literary peak simplicity. Why do we need all this property? Because the computer, unfortunately, is like a kindergarten child. We have to help it, and also to define the structure's properties more precisely. In short, from the crafting table or workbench, boom, you craft a tower, but put in your inventory and right away. I know it's a totally broken logic. It wouldn't even in some games where logic makes no sense. The idea of placing a building relies on something called a dictionary. When you click on specific tile you selected, the first check and several things, like if the building is ready, if it's belong to the area, etc. After that, and because we are professional defending the potato, building is not a game object without many cases, but literally is just a list of specific data like coordinates, building type, health, size. We call it tile data, the single source of truth in game, which is very important. And of course, this is stored in a dictionary. For what? For system organization, extra performance, and easy maintenance. After you finally place the building, the ghost tile disappears and we're done with it. But something is still missing. That grid map that divides the world into small squares gave feedback to the building system, but it wasn't that simple. The system we called Ghost Grid Render looks easy, just like a tile map in Unity, but with simple square. But the cache, we are not going to use a line render because it absolutely destroys the frames, dropping them from 700 to 300 FPS. We should just buy RTX and upgrade the monitor at this point. We should just buy an RTX and upgrade the monitor at this point. So I tried it to develop a shader, but the problem, it's written in C according to I remember. And of course I never studied and we don't have time. And even when I went online to use AI, you know, the one that's going to end programming, bring islands alive, lines, aliens would make the internet.
And make internet disappear in 2025 and 2026. Let's just stay quiet. The code wasn't what I wanted all. In the end, I drew the grid with poor mathematics. Characters like L, X, math point line, and operations so complex that we honestly better skip them. Math.line. Of course, I ran into problems where lines were generating in weird places or in completely wrong order, but in the end, I used something loved yet notorious. At the same time, why don't we just make the ghost grid render follow the camera? Guess what? Actually worked. Of course, it wasn't that simple, but literally gave results. And through all previous events, I faced endless bugs. Making a game that runs on a smart fridge or a potato is not an easy task, but it's still easier than writing in assembly. Of course, assembly is a language known only to real programmers. The programmer in the last decade and the one before use it to watch the legendary Indians tutorials. The matter is more complicated than it looks. Among the problems I faced besides fixing the harmony between the systems, which was totally lightweight, was the tile size. In the beginning, tiles could only be placed one by one, but after endless bugs and modifying until morning, I can finally control its absolutely size. And now, let's introduce our video sponsor, brought to you by... Wait a second, I'm just kidding. Where are you going? But the idea is simple. See this trash game right here? I developed it 7 or 6 years ago. Out. Currently, only 3 people have played it, as far as I remember. Finally, I hope this video wasn't too bad. Of course, I need to say, don't forget to subscribe, like, and write a comment saying give me a heart.